Welcome to Make Love Real, how to create more love in your life. I'm Mia Saenz, and in this episode, you get to meet Stori Nagel. Now, what I love about Stori is, well, many things, many things. She has a foundation, a nonprofit that supports women with breast cancer and also research called Haus of Volta. And one of the things that Stori loves most is to support women in self-love. So welcome to the show, Stori. It's lovely to have you here.
Hi.
We were having fun in the green room before we got on the shoot here, and so we're a little bit punchy, a little bit giddy. Would you like to share a little bit about the foundation, and then I want to hop into these beautiful self-love conversation?
Sure. In 2012, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was 38 years old, but before that, my mother had multiple sclerosis, and I had other family that had breast cancer, so I was convinced I was a dud and that it was coming for me, and I made no plans for my life because I wasn't going to have any, in my opinion. And God gave me grace about it when he brought my husband to me, and I kind of forgot about it until 2012. And when I came back from the doctor's office, I sat by myself and I prayed and I said, God, what is this for? And he said, it is not so much for you. You won't so much be changed, but you will change other people by what happens to you. So I figured he gave me a task. And so it sounds ridiculous, but I was never worried. I was never worried I was going to die or anything like that. I just went with it. And he's taking care of me as a result of that. But I kind of wasn't real sure what I was supposed to do. I always had this grand purpose in the back of my head, but I could never find it. I never knew what it was supposed to be until I started doing hobby modeling. So my husband's like, why don't you go do modeling? And I'm like, nobody wants to see anybody fat, white, and 40 do anything. And so it's kind of like, what the heck, I'm still alive, I'll go do it. But what I didn't realize was that seeing my image through other people's eyes and hearing other people's commentary about what my image made them feel really helped change who I thought I was and the value I thought I held. And as a result, and as I started going to support groups for breast cancer, I told my husband, I'm like, these women feel horrible and they hate their bodies and they hate the skin that they're in, and I don't. And how can we do this? How can we help change their hearts? Because as you know, not only women that have had breast cancer, but women and people in general have a lot of baggage in regards to your body and the value that it holds and how much it has to do with your value as a human being. And so after breast cancer, and you lose your hair and you lose your breasts, and sometimes you lose your reproductive organs and what you think defines you as a woman, it's really hard to see yourself as valuable in this world when that's put on us, that's the only thing we have is our looks and our ability to bear children. So we started to photograph young breast cancer survivors with hot rods, kind of like pinup style, and I would style them and I would help them pose themselves, and a lot of times they would look in the viewfinder on the camera and go like, that's not me. And we'd be like, well, who the heck is it then if it isn't you? That's you. So we never wanted people to not look like themselves, just like the ultimate version of themselves. How in your mind's eye you would really want to present yourself. That's how we want them to be able to see themselves. And a lot of times they develop like an alter ego and alternate persona that's this person that's in this photo. And a lot of times they give her a name. And I said, that person that's in the photo is the same person that you are when you don't have any of this stuff on. And that person that's in the photo is the one that, walks out the door every day and shows up And that one that's been hurt, and that's one that's been, through all this stuff, is the one that stays at home. You keep her in the house. And so we did that, and we did a couple of calendars, and we give them to breast health care centers nationwide, and through my social media. And I didn't have very many followers at the time. I think I had 800. The state of California has a program, the CBCRP, California Breast Cancer Research Program, that trains nonprofits to become researchers, so that the breast cancer research is done from a community perspective, because a researcher only knows, what their own mind can comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
And then people that are in the community actually know what the community needs and can involve the community in developing research. So I was trained by the state of California to become a researcher. I myself, I don't have a huge staff, but I was able to do the research and come up with a program and find a researcher at UCSD. And we're currently finishing up on that program, where we follow young breast cancer survivors, and we see the effects of a low-level impact or low-level exercise on quality of life and body image. And it's been really great. Satisfies that little wanting inside me to be a scientist, and that I'm good enough and I'm smart enough to be a scientist. It's been really cool. And through my own trials and the own things that my body goes through, I've researched a lot of natural medicine stuff that my kids have gone through and stuff. And so I integrate that into the stuff I do, the outreach I do with social media, and the talking that I do with, sometimes we do a lot of like one-on-ones with people that are either currently diagnosed or diagnosed metastatic, meaning they have a terminal diagnosis. When they're given a metastatic diagnosis, I believe they're given 3 to 5 years. And for a lot of those people, it really is a countdown of how many days they have. And a lot of things happen to people that are metastatic that are the same that happen to other people that are diagnosed with catastrophic illnesses, like my mother and the multiple sclerosis. So we do a lot of counseling, and we talk about a lot of like end of life type things. Like I had a friend that was obsessed with dying, even though she herself used to be a mortician, and I said, would it help you to go and make your funeral plans? And I'll go with you. And she said, yeah. And so we went, and I helped her make her funeral plans, and it was like a great weight was lifted off of her shoulders, and she could carry on. So working with people that are metastatic, people that other people can't bear working with, I just see so much suffering and I can't handle it. Like, that's when people need it the most. And that's where I'm probably the most proud to have worked with people that are metastatic, and to have had the last photographs where this person does not look terminally ill, to have been able to take those and have those for the person's family and friends to be able to remember them.
That's really beautiful. That aspect, I mean, it's all beautiful, but that aspect is mind-blowingly beautiful. It really is. I love how you present women who they are, in these photographs, because we don't know how beautiful we are until we have a great photograph and we can look at it, because humans are so judgmental. And so it's really a beautiful space to have a photo. It's one of the feminine things that I teach is, we take our photograph in a specific way and we look at it and we get used to ourselves. So
yeah.
You're so brilliant with saying, this is you, look at it. I love that. It's so connective for the individual when they can look at themselves and most of the time say, who is that? But then get understanding that that's really them.
Yeah.
Through that human level. That's beautiful.
All that stuff you do is for you. So it's like you get questions like, what are you dressed up for? And you'd be like, I'm alive. I'm dressing for myself. I'm happy to be here,
Yeah, that's beautiful. Let's talk about what are some of the small steps into self-love.
I would say that we have to understand that a lot of what we believe about ourselves is based on what people have told us.
Mm-hmm.
So me personally, I didn't have a lot of interaction, positive or negative, at home. It was just like I existed. And so what I had to build it on was in comparison to other people and in comparison to what was in the media. So there wasn't anybody that looked like me in the media. There wasn't any, like in the magazines and stuff, nobody looked like me. Everybody was like this. Went to fashion design school, got in trouble because I wouldn't draw them like this. I drew them like
Like
this.
a little toothpick.
And I would get in trouble. But I couldn't relate to somebody that was, was like a rail. And so accepting that the head noise that you have isn't your own opinion of yourself. It's what other people have given you.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to like slough it away, kind of like you got your little scrub, your little thing you use on your heels when you take a shower. Yeah, slough it off, because
Yeah.
it's not really you. It's callus that's built up on the outside from everybody else. And to be able to understand you have your own identity apart from, the
What the
group that
world
you
has
were raised
created for you, right?
with. We're all individual. We're all little individual lights walking around. We're not like one big
I'm
fire.
sorry. I'm never going to forget this callus thing you said. I love it. It's perfect. It's
Hummus, that's
exactly
the word.
what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's
It's like
exactly what it is.
scales or callus, and it's and a lot like that. It kind of hurts to get rid of, because then you're like, oh, what's my identity if I don't have all these things that other people have told me that I am?
Yeah.
It's because it's their view, and a lot of times it's not even their view of you. It's their own insecurities about themselves that they reflect back onto you. So when they have something to say about your outfit, like, oh my gosh, you look like a gutter whore or whatever,
You look like a callus.
um, it's really like a reflection of how they feel about themselves. Like, I was never allowed to walk out of the house wearing that because my mom would call me names, or I was never allowed to walk out of the house with that because the construction workers would give me a hard time.
Mhm.
So it's more of like it's more of a reflection of themselves
Mhm.
rather than of you.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
and that's the hardest thing to get, is that like all this chatter from around the outside doesn't have anything. It's in the four agreements. It's not personal. It's
Right.
completely not personal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting when we think about how these beliefs have come upon us, through society and media and all this stuff. And it's amazing that we're these pure, beautiful little beings, and then we become so confused, you know? We're
Yeah,
so confused. Who are we, right?
yeah,
But these are good questions to ask. Who are we? Who
yeah,
do we want to be? Who said we have to be that way? To ask
yeah,
these questions is also an amazing space in belief system to move through, because if we don't, just like that callus that you refer to, and I'm never going to forget that when I'm talking to people about self-love and the buildup, I'm going to be thinking about Stori and the callus here. I love that. But it's truly amazing to identify and to think, where did this come from? That was Susie's dad or mom,
yeah,
or things like that.
yeah,
If you break down those layers,
yeah,
those peels to remove, and
yeah,
then
and
thinking about the callus again.
to really think about where those come from,
Mhm.
and if it doesn't serve you personally,
Yeah. Get rid of it.
trash. It's trash. If it doesn't serve you, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Um, if it serves no purpose to you, like I can't ever go without a bra. Why? Like
Questions,
break
right?
it down. Like, some people they've never had the ability to be able to question something.
Mhm.
So just being able to have the ability to question something and why you think a certain way, or like it it just is. It's not
Mhm.
like like when your mom goes, "'Cause I said so."
Mhm.
There's nothing more infuriating than when someone goes, "'Cause I said so."
Mhm.
Explain it to me now, or I'm gonna stick my fingers in the socket explain it to me now why I can't do it. Like, because we all want answers. We all want to know how stuff works. We all want the big picture. We don't want to be excluded from information because of our age, because of our sex, because of our whatever diagnosis, whatever. Don't exclude us from information because you think we can't understand, or because you think we're not worthy of understanding. Humor me and explain to me. 9/10 of the time, whoever's giving you that ridiculous thing, they themselves probably can't explain it because it's dogma that's been passed down from them. So just to be able to like analyze like your thoughts and why you think certain ways, at first it seems like a lot of work, but like what you're really doing is that is the pumice, the thinking about why this is a certain way. Why do I think this way? Why did I react that way? And if you haven't been working on it for a long time, it seems like the smallest little thing, like, why am I bothered by the hair on my arms? Like the smallest little thing is like, oh gosh,
They're so magnetized, right?
Everything is like a big deal, or else it wouldn't matter to you why that you had hair on your arms or whatever it was.
Right.
Each thing needs the breakdown and the space to be able to break it down, and you can't do that if you're engulfed in like what somebody wore to some premiere, or this drama or that drama, or that my neighbors like it has to be, the light has to be turned in here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's it's painful to have the light turned in here, but that's
the self-examination.
Yeah.
Self-reflection. So where do we begin to find some of these realities about ourselves besides the examination? Should we journal? Should we meditate?
Great. Yeah, I think for myself, I always knew there was another me, and I was always afraid of her and what she could do, because I thought that if I let her out, that it was just going to be like Tasmanian devil and just destroy everything.
Yeah.
But possibly think about what that other person looks like and what freedoms she would have that you don't currently have. I do understand that sometimes it's situational, depending, like if you're living with your parents or what your husband's like, or what your community is like. I understand those things, but try and think of it outside of those confines of what she would look like. What books would she read? What would she feel like to be around? What would other people's reactions to her be like? Just start to play around and imagine, almost like you're developing a character, like for a book, but who you would want to, who your ultimate self would be. Right down to like, oh, this is the perfume she would wear. Like when you do that self-guided meditation, that's so super real, that you can smell where you're at and you can feel the grass in your toes. Like, if you've never thought of any of that stuff and you just feel stuck, it's fun to just be like the Disneyland of me, of what I would be like if I could live my genuine life, and I think journaling would be great. If you drawing would be great. Designing, even if you did like a Pinterest board of what she would wear, almost like if you had a Barbie, or like another self, or you were a stylist, what that would look like for you. And then start to pick up a couple of those things, those little things that you're maybe too scared to wear in public. Because even though you think the fashion police is going to pull you over, but they're not going to pull me over. Nobody cares. Everybody is so wrapped up in their own self and their own insecurities, and that everybody else is looking at it. You could probably wear butt floss in the grocery store and no one's going to even notice, because everyone is so wrapped up in themselves, and everybody's looking at me, that it's way less of, like all eyes on you. we all feel that way. So if we all feel like
Isn't
all
that
the eyes are on us, then who's really looking at each other?
yeah.
Nobody.
You know what I found in this line of work is everybody thinks everybody's looking at them or talking about them.
Yeah.
And it's really just energy, meaning that we are so insecure energetically that we're just assuming that everybody's looking and talking about us, right?
Yeah.
And they're just as insecure as the next person, and
Yeah.
they're probably not doing that. It's
Yeah.
so interesting. You
Yeah.
know, also that whole concept of you know, when we allow someone else to control us by what we think they think that we're thinking or doing. Now that sounded so ridiculous,
Think
didn't
I
it?
think what
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what the human does.
Yeah.
And so getting out of that, Story
Yeah.
mentioned The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz a little bit ago, and that's a perfect one to identify with and practice the Four Agreements, because you learn not to assume and to take responsibility and be integral with
Yeah.
your word. And these are really powerful things, right? And self-love that shifts us and moves us into another state of being. You know, also I have to say these shows go by so fast. We get into self-love and the conversation, and they just fly right by. Wow. So I'm going to ask you a question after you share your free gift.
Okay.
And we can wrap this up and close out how you know, with what else you'd like to say. But will you share with everybody? I'm excited about her free gift. Will you share with everybody your free gift?
I was able to write a chapter in Love Revolution, and I'm offering my chapter, which is called Strange Magic, which is based off a song by ELO that I love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about how boring the world would be if magic wasn't real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that don't know how I see that my mind works, I very much see myself as Spock with a sense of humor. So if it's not logical, I cannot believe it. Like Doubting Thomas, you're like,
Yeah, put your finger on the light switch or the
yeah. So you have to be able to be willing to understand that you might not understand how everything works, but that it is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I hope that you get from this chapter, is that you understand that that all this magic stuff is possible in life, even if you don't exactly understand how it works. And if your brain is very much like, does not compute, Will Robinson, like mine's the same way. And I'm still able to be completely logical and 2 feet on the ground, and also have all this magical stuff happen in my life.
That's awesome. And also about Story's chapter, we actually had it created to look. It's a book, except for it has no one else's chapters in it but hers. So it's really a beautiful presentation as well, and Story's honored with her story in it. So get that, because it's really a fun thing, and then you can also be connected to any of the newsletters and information that come out. Those calendars are great, and it's really lovely. So
Thank you.
you're welcome, honey. So before we wrap up and say goodbye, is there anything on your heart or mind that you'd like to share that you haven't?
Practice little bits of uncomfortableness. Red fingernails used to really make me uncomfortable for some reason. And try little baby steps. Wear it around the house. Wear it to go get gas.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there you wear it to the CVS, and then you wear it out all day long. And by taking those baby steps, you'll see that it's not really as big of a deal as you've been led to believe that it is, and that you get so much freedom just by doing these little things that seem like such a big taboo, like from whatever basis that comes from. But practice little bits of uncomfortability, and just know that when you get anxiety and uncomfortableness in regards to like doing a thing or saying a thing, that's usually a dark spirit or dark feeling doesn't want you to accelerate. So you're going to accelerate in life. Your vibration's going to accelerate by pushing past this little ism that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't want you to, because it wants you to stay under its foot.
Mm-hmm.
And just know that when you push past that anxiety and that vulnerability that you feel, your vibration raises and you are not so much in the mud anymore as you are in the light. And that anxiety is almost a direct indicator that you should be doing it, because
I love that.
you need to do it.
Yeah, that's really great, because people are practicing to step out of their comfort zone of what somebody has said that has built their belief system. So stepping out of that it looks like a very beautiful place. It could be a scary experience at first, but breathe and do it. And I love that, because you're really smashing the belief system right there when you do it. Yeah. Very powerful. Very powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stori. It was so lovely to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
You and Haus of Volta. I adore you. Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you in another one.